I was 11 years old. We lived in a small, sleepy town in the Midwest, where people still left their doors unlocked, and kids rode their bikes until the streetlights came on. Friday nights during summer vacation were our big family nights. My parents would pile my little brother and me into the car. We would go shopping, and then we always ended the night with McDonald's. Happy meals in the back seat, toys already out of the box before we pulled into the driveway. By the time we got home, it was usually dark. That was normal. We had an outdoor dog run in the backyard for my brother's dog Pebbles. She was this nervous little half poodle, half mystery mix. Sweet as could be, but she did not do well being left alone inside. If she stayed in the run while we were gone, she was fine until we got back and brought her in. When my parents adopted her, she was already pregnant. They knew this and already had homes lined up for the puppies. About 2 weeks before this particular night, she had her puppies. Only 3 of them. Tiny, squirmy little things, absolutely fuzzy clones of their mama. On this one Friday, we came home with our shopping bags, fries still warm, bellies full. The porch light was on, the house looked normal. But Pebbles was not normal. She was outside in the run, whining and barking like something was terribly wrong. Not her usual, "Hey, are you home?" bark. This was sharp and desperate. My dad called out to her through the back door, told her we would be right there after we unloaded the bags. He was sure the puppies had just scooted out of her reach or gotten stuck somewhere. Inside, we were standing in the dining room, taking things out of plastic bags. Pebbles kept whining nonstop, then barking again, higher and higher, like she was trying to get through the walls. My dad finally sighed and said my name. He told me to run out and bring Pebbles and the puppies inside. So out I went. The back deck was washed in yellow light from the porch, but the dog run sat just past that glow, right at the edge where the yard turned into a darker sort of black. I walked down the steps. The night air felt heavy and still. Pebbles was frantic, jumping, scraping at the gate. I unlatched the door and slipped inside the run. As soon as I touched her, she calmed down a little, pressing against my legs. I noticed something, though. I didn't hear the puppies. No tiny barks, no little whimpers, no movement in the straw. I told myself they were just asleep. Puppies sleep all the time, right? The run itself was dark. Could not see much past the deck light. So I knelt down and started feeling around in the straw and blankets, reaching for anything warm and furry. My fingers brushed against a little body, soft fur, tiny legs. I scooped it up. Then I found another close by, picked that one up too, one in each arm, still no sound. Thought they were just deep asleep. I turned and walked towards the steps, Pebbles right at my heels. The moment I stepped back into the porch light and looked down at what I was carrying, the world tilted. Both puppies in my arms were headless. I started screaming. My dad ran out onto the deck. For a second, his face just froze. Then he told me to put them down very quickly, very quietly. I laid them on the wooden boards. He crouched to look, his jaw tight, then hurried down into the run. A few seconds later, he came back with Pebbles and the third puppy tucked under his arm. The last puppy was fine, perfectly fine. 2 little bodies lay there on the deck. No heads, just fur and tiny paws and stillness. My dad went inside to call the police. The back door stood open behind him. While he was on the phone, I walked back outside again. I don't know why. Maybe I was trying to make sense of it. Maybe I thought if I just looked long enough, it would start to feel less real. I went to the railing and stared down into the backyard. First, I couldn't see anything. It was just dark. But as my eyes slowly adjusted and shapes began to appear, I saw the fence, the outline of the dog run, the patch of grass that always looked darker. And then I saw something moving. It wasn't a shadow, it was a person. A tall man stood near the edge of our yard, dressed in dark clothes. He wasn't walking like a neighbor cutting through. He was standing there lurking just inside the line of trees and darker brush, just like he was trying to decide whether to keep going or turn back. Without thinking, I yelled, "Hey!" The man stopped. He didn't flinch, he didn't run. He just stopped, turned around very slowly, and looked up at me. And I will never forget that look. He didn't shout anything or wave, he just stared, cold and flat, like I was the one who didn't belong there. I felt all the blood drain from my face. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I stumbled backward into the house and told my dad there was a man in the yard. He rushed outside, sprinted down the deck steps, through the yard yelling, but the man was gone. The police showed up. They walked the yard, checked the dog run, took notes, and asked us lots of questions. They wrote up a report, but there was one detail that did not make sense to anyone. There wasn't any blood. Not on the puppy's fur or the deck, and there wasn't any in the dog run. There was none anywhere. And the cuts on their necks were not jagged or torn. The officer told my parents they were clean, cauterized, like something had sealed the wound as it cut. The next day, my parents had a security system installed. After that, my brother and I were not allowed to go outside after dark alone anymore. We didn't argue. We didn't want to. The neighbors started whispering over the fence when they thought we weren't listening, but we heard the words they used. Devil worshippers, cult. They said it like a story you tell to scare kids. But here's the thing. This wasn't just a story. I was there. If you're listening to this in a quiet house and you think you know who lives around you and what walks through your yard at night, I hope you're right. Because sometimes the thing standing in the dark just beyond the porch light isn't your neighbor. And sometimes, whatever it is, it doesn't leave footprints. It doesn't leave blood. It just leaves a feeling of fear that never really goes away.